Hey guys, John here. I was wrong about the Fender ToneMaster Pro, so that's what this little video is going to be about. What was I wrong about, you might ask? Well, I recently made a video in which I ranked all the hardware amp modelers that I had at that point. So modelers including the Fractal Audio XFX3, the Line 6 Helix, the Neural DSP Quad Cortex, of course also the Fender ToneMaster Pro, and more. Needless to say, the Fender ToneMaster Pro did not end up high on that list at all. And at that point, I really didn't believe that the ToneMaster Pro was great, to be honest. However, my opinion has drastically changed because of current events, so that's what we're going to talk about today. Now, fun fact, this is not the first time that I'm making this video. In fact, this is like the third time or so. Recently, I was over at Henning Pauli's place. You might know him from YouTube. He's a great guy, very honest and very pure. And he made me realize that in a lot of cases, I am way too self-conscious when I'm making my videos. So from now on, what I'm going to try to do is be a little bit more relaxed and loose when I'm making my videos and less scripted. Because of that, my videos will hopefully be a little bit more relatable, but also perhaps a little bit more chaotic. So bear with me, okay? Now, one of the reasons for me making this video is that I want to be as honest as I possibly can to you guys. I have to be honest when a product is lacking in some areas. I have to be critical and be honest about the things that I don't like about the products. So when a product like the Fender ToneMaster Pro has some shortcomings, I just need to kind of be able to address that. But on the flip side of that, when the product turns out to be better than I initially thought, I also need to be honest about that to give you guys the whole picture. I don't want your image of a product to be kind of distorted because of one or two videos that you saw in the past that highlighted the product at that stage. And now when the product has evolved basically and has become much better, I feel like I also need to highlight that. So sometimes it can be a little bit complicated to give you guys a good, honest image of a product since products do evolve and change, especially digital products with the firmware updates and stuff, but we do our best. I do still stand behind all the videos that I made and the methods that I used because I had to make do with everything that I had at hand at that time. But like I said, things have changed. Now, let's go back to the beginning. So when Fender released the ToneMaster Pro, they sent me one and I was excited. I mean, modelers are great. I love my tube amplifiers, but I also really enjoy modeling and multi-effect platforms. They are great fun and I use them all the time. I love the Fractal Audio stuff. I love the Line 6 stuff. As I said, the Quad Cortex is also wonderful. So I was excited to try the new big guy on the block, the Fender ToneMaster Pro. So they sent me one and I did kind of enjoy it for my initial review. I tried out some amplifiers, tried out some of the effects, and it did have some shortcomings for sure that I mentioned in the video, but it was a young product. You know, they still had to add and update a lot of things. And I must add that the shortcomings that I mentioned, that I also mentioned to Fender, have been addressed for the most part, so that's great. So Fender definitely is listening to us. Whether it's you guys, the customers, or people like me on YouTube who are sort of reviewing these units, okay? Anyway, then I went in a little bit deeper and I started to compare the ToneMaster Pro's amp models to some of my real amplifiers, including the officially licensed EVH amp models, and I compared them to my EVH amplifiers. The EVH amplifiers have a very specific sound. They sound tight, they sound ferocious, very clear. There's a lot of gain on tap, etc. They have a very specific sound, whether it's the stealth version or the 6L6 version or whatnot. They all share that same EVH DNA. And in that comparison, the licensed models in here fell short. They sounded pretty bad in comparison, in my opinion anyway. So that was basically what happened in that video, and I was a little bit disappointed. I went in expecting it to sound super close and super accurate, and that wasn't the case at all. So my view of the ToneMaster Pro didn't get better because of that, of course. In fact, it made me a little bit disappointed in the unit because I was expecting it to sound really good in comparison to my tube amplifiers. Luckily, Fender was really cool about it. And they said, hey, we're going to take a look at those amp models. I think there's a bug in the red channel or something, and they worked on that. So that's really cool. They were responsive and respectful of the results. Then they did an update in which they fixed those amp models. And of course, I went in again and made another comparison to see if the update really changed the model. Unfortunately, it wasn't the case. It still sounded kind of mushy and dark and didn't sound like my real EVH amplifiers at all. So again, that was disappointing. But the folks from Fender made us aware that the user IR block, which you can use to load your own IRs, had some shortcomings. And that had to do with the impedance curve. It lacked impedance curve modeling. So they said we need to fix that in order for the IR block to be, accurate. And of course, I used the user IR block in those comparisons because if you want to compare a real amplifier with a reactive load to an amp model, you're going to want to use the same IR. Otherwise, it will never, ever sound the same. Now, in my opinion, the differences weren't just because of the impedance curves. There was more going on there, but all that aside. So I still just was pretty disappointed in the ToneMaster Pro. And that's why it was pretty low on the ranking list on that modeler ranking video. And I really felt that way at that time. However, luckily things have changed and that's wonderful. So a month or two ago, give or take, they released another update and they added impedance curve modeling to the IR block. So that's really cool. But they added a bunch of effects too. And they also added a bunch of new amplifier models, including a model of the orange Rockerverb 50 Mark III, which I have down there as well, that exact same model, and also a Soldano SLO 100. Now, I don't own an SLO 100, but I do own a Soldano SLO 30 up there. So I went in with a sort of open mind to see, hey, let's check this out. Maybe things have changed, maybe the amp models are more accurate now, but I wasn't super hopeful or anything like that. I was just curious and slightly optimistic. So I went in, made that video, which you can watch up here or down here, by the way. It's a lot of fun. I do recommend checking it out. And I was super surprised and blown away at the accuracy of those models, especially the orange Rockerverb. It sounded super close. With the impedance curve modeling and just those models in general sounded super close. Man, I was impressed. Fender seemed to be doing great things with these updates. The Soldano model also was good, not as close as the orange, but the orange was just, wow, one of the most accurate models that I've ever heard of a Rockerverb. So yeah, I was blown away, honestly, blown away. And the new impedance curve stuff really did help, absolutely, but maybe they did some other things under the hood, who knows. Anyway, so at that point, my opinion had already changed, so I figured, you know what, I am gonna go back and try the EVH amp models again and compare them to my real EVH amplifiers. So that's what I did. And again, the results were mind-blowing. I was like, how can this be? All of a sudden, the unit sounded so much better. So much better. And it got me so excited about the ToneMaster Pro again. Now, I still don't think that the EVH models are there 100%, but they are so much closer and they are very usable now. They sound great and feel great to play through. Really impressive. So yeah, apparently Fender really is listening to us and they are doing a great job at improving this unit. And I'm there for it. I want this thing to be a success. I never want products or brands to fail. That's not fun. When you get your hands on a product like this, you want it to sound good and you want to have fun playing through it, right? So that's always the goal, to have fun and to make it sound good. And when that doesn't happen, it's just disappointing. It's not fun for me as a reviewer and it's not fun for the brand as well. So when this happens, when a brand comes in and they say, okay, we're going to fix this, we're going to improve this, and when they actually deliver on that, that's just wonderful and it makes me excited. So if I were to make that ranking list now, after these updates and stuff, it would definitely end up much higher on that list. And that has to be said in order for you guys to have a complete picture of my experience with the unit and my opinion of the unit as a whole. Because apparently things can change. Again, especially with digital units that can get better with firmware updates and stuff. I also made a comparison recently of my Mesa Boogie dual rectifier versus a bunch of modeling platforms. That video is also a lot of fun. And of course, I also included the ToneMaster Pro. And again, the model sounded so good. So yeah, things definitely have changed, and I'm very excited about it. So that's basically why I wanted to make this video. Again, I don't think that the methods that I used were wrong, because if you buy a brand new product like this, you can expect it to just work as it should. I mean, a couple quirks or things here and there, that's fine, but that an entire feature like an IR loader doesn't work properly, that's not something that you should expect. When you buy this thing for a lot of money as a customer, you should be able to expect it to work, you know, as it should. So it definitely had some shortcomings. So I definitely stand behind my opinion at that time, but they worked on it and it's much, much better now. And it's just a lot of fun to work with this thing in general. Even when the EVH models didn't sound as good, it was still fun to work with it, with the touchscreen and the cool graphics and these very sturdy switches. The ins and outs are great, and it's just a very fun unit as a whole. So I'm excited to see where this will go in the future in terms of the firmware updates. I'm very curious to see what sort of amplifiers they add and stuff. And I will definitely make some videos with it when those updates come out. So I hope you guys stay tuned for that. And let me know in the comments down below what your thoughts are on the Fender Tone Master Pro and how this has evolved. I'd be very curious to know your thoughts. So let me know in the comments. If you haven't already, please also hit the like and subscribe down below, as it really helps the channel out. You can also purchase stuff at Sweetwater for America and Thomann for Europe with the affiliate links that I'll post below as well. That also helps out the channel and it won't cost you any extra. That would also be hugely appreciated. You can also check out my Ko-Fi web store where I sell neural quad cortex captures, and also follow Sonic Drive Studio on Facebook and Instagram. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope to see you soon. Cheers.